Graphic artist Renee Bishop is suing her former neighbors, Michelle and Perry Schultz, for medical bills, moving expenses, and harassment. Renee claims the Schultzes not only got her evicted, but they caused physical harm to her baby.
Come to order, all rise. Now, this is case number 39 on the calendar in the matter of Bishop versus Schultz. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Bishop, you and your family were renters in a 4-unit complex, according to what I read in your complaint. The other 3 apartments or condos were occupied by owners.
Right.
And it is your claim that the defendants did several things. First, they told untruths to the cooperative association and therefore your landlord.
Yes.
Causing you to be evicted.
Yes.
And next, you allege that the defendants, one or both of them, put needles in your laundry which got into your baby's pajamas, which caused injury to the baby.
But...
Shh, shh. And you want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
I assume that they did not put any needles in your laundry on purpose. If needles got into the laundry because Mrs. Schultz is a diabetic,
yes,
does use needles.
No.
No.
Doesn't use needles.
No.
Okay, interesting. And in addition, that whatever statements they made to the landlord, your landlord, were true, and if you were evicted, it was because of your own conduct. That's their defense. I just want to check something. Well, I'm reading your answer, Mr. Schultz, and your answer says, my wife is diabetic, and when the plaintiff's husband brought the lancets to me...
There's a difference between lancets and needles.
Oh, okay, lancets.
Okay, yes.
So I used the wrong word.
Yes,
Lancets.
Lancets.
When plaintiff's husband brought lancets to me, he said he found them in the washer. My wife is diabetic, but they did not look like the lancets my wife used. So we're using a different term.
Right,
Needles,
right. Well, there
lancets.
is a difference between lancets and needles.
Okay. When did you move in, Mrs. Bishop, with your family?
August of '03.
And how many members were there in your family?
3, myself, my husband, and my baby.
How old is your baby?
1 year and 4 months.
Did you have trouble with Mr. and Mrs. Schultz or any of the other neighbors when you moved in?
Just the Schultz. No, the other neighbors were very kind and friendly, normal neighbors.
What happened with Mr. and Mrs. Schultz?
I think the first month or 2 was fine. We were friends.
Well, actually, it was...
I didn't ask you anything yet.
Mr. Schultz was very kind and helpful, showing us where the things were, telling us how things ran around there, like he was the landlord.
That was the first month or 2?
First month or 2. I understood from the neighbor in number 2, Tammy.
Don't tell me anything that a neighbor told you.
I understood she needed a kidney. So I went up and offered her a kidney and asked her what blood type she was. She said she was blood type AB. And we talked about it.
So, it's good.
To my best recollection. Anyways.
Go ahead.
So, just things started happening where the laundry problems. They parked in a, his truck is very big, it's a Bronco, and it's blocked our space. When we moved in, we asked him several times to please move it. We can't get our car in the garage. Here's a violation that was written on my car because his car was parked in my space, so I had to scoop my car over the line. So I was ticketed because they called on me after we asked him to move the car and complained to the landlord.
Mr. Schultz, did you and the plaintiff and or her husband ever have a conversation with... Could you stand up and take your hand off your hip?
I'm sorry?
Did you and the plaintiff or her husband ever have a conversation with regard to your truck encroaching on their parking space?
No, not...
Never?
No.
Never?
No.
Your Honor?
No.
And actually...
However, excuse me, Your Honor, however, though, I did quite a few times ask them if they could move their car over because I couldn't get into my car, and she is...
Now, just 1 second.
Okay.
So there was a problem.
There was a problem.
Now, when there was a problem, it was because their car was parked too close to the line, yet their car was parked within their lines. But you have a very large car, and in order for you to get in and out of your spot, you wanted them to move their car further over.
To the other line.
I understand. Your wife is answering the question, sir. I mean, you know, I understand. She understands what I'm saying. You may want to give me a lot of baloney, but I'm not going to tolerate it. You asked them to move their car to the other side because you have a very large car and it was difficult for you to get in and out of your car. Is that a fair statement?
That would be a fair statement.
That's a fair statement. Okay. And what I assume happened is you parked it as close to the line as you possibly could. Is that what you're telling me?
Not necessarily, but
Not necessarily. Let me see the pictures. I'm 10 steps ahead of you, sir.
There's a picture
I'm
of his
10 steps
Bronco,
ahead of you.
And here's the rules and regulations.
You know, fortunately, we all come to our jobs, Mr. Schultz, with a life's experience.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, well, in this case, you may not be. Let's get to the rest of the complaints that were made, because that's what you're alleging. Let's get there, and let's get there fast.
Okay.
And then we'll get to the Lancets.
Okay.
Your Honor?
What?
May I ask my witness to come up and explain?
Absolutely. Who are you?
I'm her husband, Brett Bishop.
Okay, do you have the complaints?
No, we do not have the complaints.
Well, then how am I supposed to adjudicate that
we
part of
were
your
not
claim?
able to get them from our landlord in time.
Well, then, yeah, I have to strike that part of your claim.
Okay, then I have nothing in that regard.
Good, fine. And let's get to the needles incident.
I went out to get the baby's laundry out of the dryer. And
When was this?
January 29th. And found needles in the dryer. And I came back in the house and called my husband, and he told me that they might be hers because she's diabetic.
Okay. Do you have any of them with you?
Yes.
And this was before you put any clothes on the baby?
No.
What do you mean, no?
Similar of what the needles look like.
You see, what you state in your complaint is that your baby was uncomfortable, and the next morning you found needles in her pajamas. Then you went down to the laundry and you found needles. Now you tell me that on the 29th of January, you went down to the dryer and found needles in the dryer.
I got the needles out of the dryer, and I came back into the house and called the police.
Yes.
My husband came home at the same time,
Yes?
and he can pick it up from there.
The police officer went and spoke with Mrs. Schultz.
Listen to me. Were you there when the police officer spoke to Mrs. Schultz?
I was not in his presence. He spoke to her on her balcony. We waited in the house. He came down and told us what she said.
That's hearsay. I'll look at a police report if you have it.
Yeah, we have a police report.
They said they didn't have anything.
In that police report, she admits that the needles were hers.
Shh.
Sorry.
Now, according to the police report, I'm just telling you what the police report says.
Okay.
It says that you advised the police that the needles were left in your clothing by accident. I got it. What's next?
We have photographs of the needle, and we did not know that where the needle came from, where the scratches came from originally.
I don't know what scratches you're talking about, Matt. I have no clue as to what scratches you're talking about.
We found a needle later in my baby's diaper. After we phoned the police, we discovered that the scratches that were on her that were not on their.
I have no idea what you're talking about, madam. I asked you, tell me about the incident involving the needles.
Okay.
And you told me on the 29th of January you found needles in the laundry. And now you're talking to me about scratches, and I have no clue as to what you're talking about.
On the 28th night, I put my baby to bed. In the morning when she woke up, my husband.
It was on the 9th.
What are you telling?
On the 9th, we put our baby to bed. I usually put the baby to bed, and she had no scratches to her labia area. She was very fussy that night. We thought she was teething. The next morning when I got up to take her to the nanny, I noticed when I was changing her, she had a dirty diaper, so I wiped her up, and I noticed that there were scratches to her vagina area. We have pictures.
What kind of diapers do you use?
Pampers.
Well, how could she have scratches to her vaginal area?
That's where we're getting at, is the whole reason why we're here is the needles that this lady put in our laundry somehow got into our baby's diaper, scratched up her labia. We have pictures to document that. We have pictures of the needles, and the emergency room doctor
We dug through the diaper pail.
saw those.
We have a diaper pail we keep the diapers in, and after discussing with the officer and finding out the needles 2 weeks later that she had got scratched from, we assumed we better look through the old diapers that we keep in the pail, which we have pictures of the diaper pail and the needle in the dirty diaper. So that's how we didn't know where the scratches came from.
But you don't put diapers in the wash.
Shh. Push it.
So we put 2 and 2 together and took her to the emergency room, and they wrote the report that needles stick to the labia. And they did the HIV test on her, hepatitis testing. And
So what you're telling me is, I mean, I don't know what these pictures show, madam. You're showing me a picture of a dirty diaper with a blue needle in it. Is that what you're showing me you found?
Yes.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that 2 weeks later you kept dirty diapers in a pail.
The baby goes to the nanny Monday through Friday.
Let me explain something to you, madam. I do not believe that you kept dirty diapers in a pail from January 9th to January 30th. I don't believe it. It doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it ain't true.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I assume that you have a busy life. I want to know why you're suing him over swimsuit and shoes. I'm just curious. Yet you took time out to file a lawsuit about your swimsuit and shoes.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Renee Bishop says her former condo neighbors, Michelle and Perry Schultz, put needles into a laundry dryer, causing injury to her baby. Renee also claims the Schultzes lied to the landlord and got her evicted.
I believe that you probably found a couple of her needles in the dryer. That's a possibility. And maybe you figured you could parlay that into something else, but I do not believe. And I'm not crazy about their attitude, especially his. I'm not sure about hers yet, but especially his. But if you think you're going to parlay that into a monetary award, you are wrong, because I do not believe this evidence, which is a 2-week-old diaper that you kept in a pail in her room and happened to open it up and found within the diaper that your husband said he changed on the 9th of January, a blue needle that he overlooked. I don't buy it.
It was
My problem is that 3 weeks later, or 2.5 weeks later, when you found this, you took your child to the emergency room?
Mm-hmm.
What date did you take the child to the emergency room?
The 29th.
29th. So what you're telling me is you didn't see the problem on the 9th.
Yes, we did.
Well, show me what you did.
I took her to my doctor for shots. 2 days later, she had a date for shots. There's red marks on the buttocks.
Let me see. Let me see. 2 days later, let me see what the report says. Well, infant.
Red marks on
Red
buttock.
mark on buttock. That's not what your husband just told me. Your husband told me that she had needle punctures on her labia. Listen, what do you think? I was born yesterday. Your case is dismissed. They may have not been good neighbors, and they may have done a lot of things that were nasty to you, but you're not going to parlay that. My only problem is you did take the child 2.5 weeks later to an emergency room where somebody found a needle prick on the child.
Yeah.
My question is, how did it get there 2.5 weeks later when it wasn't on the doctor's report 2 days after what you allege is the incident?
Because
that causes me a great deal of concern. Not from them, but from you. Your case is dismissed.
Your Honor,
Step out.
thank you, Honor.
Out.
Thank you.
Oh,
I didn't put the lancets in the washer or the dryer.
They just started turning psycho and messing with our cars, cutting our vehicles up, all kinds of stuff.
We've lived there 8 years, never had a problem with anybody until they moved in.
I think because they're just really jealous. Their kid's autistic, unfortunately.
So does that mean I'm jealous of every normal child in this world? I don't think so.
He used to tell us all the time, oh, you're so lucky to have a healthy baby. She's so beautiful. She's so this, she's so that. And I think there was a fine line between jealousy and hatred.
That's just a farce. I mean, they're just reaching, you know. Desperate people will do desperate things, you know, and they're desperate.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McCullough versus Nelson's Nautilus. Step forward, please.
Student Renee McCullough is suing the owners of her gym, Preston Nelson and John Ashey, for breaking into her locker and selling her belongings. The men say Renee's locker dues were 6 months delinquent.
Ms. McCullough, you belonged to the defendant's gym, according to your complaint, for about 9 years.
That's correct.
And then there came a time recently that you stopped going, about a year ago. And it is your claim that they clipped the lock off your locker after several months and got rid of your stuff. You want them to pay you $600 for what you claim was in the locker. When did you first rent your locker?
The first time I rented it was for a year. It was in November of 2001.
And how much was the rental on the locker for that year?
I paid $100. He gave me a break. I paid a year in advance.
Is that right?
That sounds correct.
Okay, $100 for the year. That was in 2001.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay in 2002? Is not an answer.
No.
Why not?
Because it was my understanding when I paid for my year in advance that it would be included in my automatic payment out of my bank, and in the event that it wasn't, that Preston would let me know.
Did you have that conversation with her?
I couldn't. I would say yes, I did. We could not find any paperwork to show that, and so I don't know where it all fell short, but I have no paperwork that would show that. Typically, it was a prepaid year only.
Okay. When did you stop going to the gym at all?
At approximately middle of 2002.
And when did you go back?
The end of July of 2003.
And when you went back in July of 2003, you found your locker opened?
Exactly.
Okay, well, you know, that's well over a year ago. What have you done the last year?
After I found out my lock had been cut off, I spoke to Mr. Ashby, and he said he had to speak to his wife to find out where my belongings were. He thought that they still had them on the premises. At that time, I found out that no, they were no longer there. I left a note with Mr. Ashby concerning, you know, I had quite a bit of belongings in that locker, and that if they would pay me for my swimsuit and my shoes, I would go away.
Do you work? I assume you do.
I did previous to this, yes.
What are you doing now?
I'm going back to school.
How do you support yourself?
Through my husband.
Oh, okay. So your family supports itself?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're going back to school. What I want to know is, I assume that you have a busy life. I want to know why you're suing him over swimsuit and shoes. I'm just curious. You took time out to file a lawsuit about your swimsuit and shoes.
It's the principle of the thing. I expect that if they run a business, that they need to comply with the laws that regulate the renting of areas.
Well, but the truth of the matter is, Ms. McCullough, from what you tell me, you didn't go back to the gym for almost a year. And during that period of time, the locker was really not paid for. You assumed that it was going to be paid for. You assumed that they would notify you in the event that it wasn't paid for. Have you lived in the same place
Yes.
all the time? Well, what I don't understand, Mr. Nelson, quite frankly, is why couldn't you just send her a note? Drop her a note and say, listen, we're going to empty out your locker because it hasn't been paid for, and it has to be paid for. You know, you better come and get it within the next 2 weeks.
Right. That really, a lot of the specifics, when Johnny came on board, the records were not well kept. We didn't have an automatic payment system in place for lockers. That was something that was discussed, but primarily it's a membership, tanning, health club.
Okay. So what Ms. McCullough was asking for initially was $160. Is that right?
That's what I have, yes.
Right. That's what she said here. Originally, I told him, you've just paid me $160 for my swimsuit and sneakers. That would be fine. And she's here just for the principle of it, right?
Correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $160. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Computer programmer Jeremy Hulse is suing businessman Greg Hummel for a refund on a horse. Jeremy claims the horse had not been broken as promised.
Guys, this is case number 465 on the calendar in the matter of Hulse versus Hummel. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mr. Hulse, it is your claim that the defendant sold you a horse that you specifically requested be a tame horse because the horse was for your father.
Yes.
That turned out to be a wild horse.
Exactly.
That couldn't be ridden.
No.
And Mr. Hummel says you don't get a refund. You had an opportunity to ride the horse. Must be something wrong with your riding ability.
Probably.
Is that right, sir?
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am is better than yep. How long have you been in the horse business, Mr. Hummel?
I'm not really in the horse business. I have a small ranch that we use horses for lots of different things. We hunt and do a lot of trail riding on the horses. The horses are ridden by a lot of people, young people, people that can't ride very well.
How many horses do you have?
Right now, I have 6 horses.
And at the time Mr. Hulse bought his horse, how many horses did you have?
7 horses.
And why were you selling?
Well, because I needed some money. It was getting close to Christmas, and I needed some money.
Okay. Did you put an ad in the paper?
I put an ad on a local website.
Okay. Can I see a copy of the ad, please?
Yes. The title says well-broke horses.
For sale, well-broke horses. Prices vary. Okay. So you were selling 5 of your horses?
That's correct.
Did you sell all 5?
No.
How many horses did you sell?
Thus far, I've sold 3 of them.
Well, my math isn't that great, as Bert can attest, but if you have 6 horses now and you had 7 horses then and you sold 3...
I picked up a couple more horses, though.
So you bought some more?
Yep.
When did you buy the other horses, sir?
About a week ago.
From where?
From a friend of mine.
Okay. Now, what did you want a horse for, Mr. Hulse?
Some of my friends and I have gone in on some horses. My dad was looking to join our little group and buy another horse to ride. He's totally inexperienced.
How old is your father?
55.
Baby. So he's an inexperienced rider, and you want him to have a
Yes,
easy
and a
horse.
little bit heavier, so we wanted a stout horse.
Tell me what happened when you answered the ad.
I called Greg on the 10th of December around 12 o'clock. Told him I was interested to come out that day and look at some horses. He said he'd have some saddled and ready by 2 o'clock. So Ryan and I went to his ranch, and we said we were looking for a horse that was on the lower end of the $1,000, $1,500 range. He showed us 2 horses that were in that range. He told us that Angel, the horse we ended up getting, was on the lower end of that range because she didn't have papers.
Where did you get this horse from?
From a buddy in Cleveland, Utah.
When?
Quite some time ago. I can't tell you the exact time. I've had the horse for quite a while.
Well, years. Give me some idea.
Close to a year.
Well, that's not so long, sir.
No.
What's the person's name that you bought the horse from?
Richard.
How much did you pay for the horse?
I paid $900 for the horse.
Now, the other horse that you showed the plaintiff, where did you get that horse from?
Same person.
When?
Same time.
So you bought the 2 horses together?
That's correct.
How much did you pay for the second horse?
The same.
Did you buy any of your other horses from Mr.
Yeah, but what's this have to do with this horse?
I ask the questions, you answer the questions.
Of course I have.
Are any of the other 6 horses that are now in your possession horses that you bought from Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
All of them.
So you bought all your horses from Mr.
Yes, he's a very close friend, and we ride a lot together.
Did you ride the horse, Mr. Hulse?
Yes.
And is your father about your stature?
No.
Is he larger or smaller?
He's heavier and shorter.
So you were satisfied. Now, what happened after you bought the horse?
We paid Greg the money that day. The next morning, around 9 o'clock, Ryan and I went to trailer the horse. And the horse took us about 2 hours to get her in the trailer. It checked like she'd never seen a trailer before. By that time, Greg had already cashed our check, and we tried calling him a few times to let him know the problem. We couldn't get a hold of him.
Well, I don't understand. Didn't you go back to where the horse was?
Yes.
Where was he?
He wasn't there.
Was at work.
He gave us permission to go get it. He knew he wasn't going to be there.
So you called him?
Yes.
And what did he say when you called him?
He didn't answer. We finally got the horse in. We cajoled her with some oats and stuff, and then dropped her off at our field. And then Monday, we tried to saddle her. And
now, when you went to view this horse for the first time on the 10th of December, did you tell Mr. Hummel what you wanted the horse for?
Yes.
What did you tell him?
I told him that my dad was going to be making the purchase and that he has no experience, and so we need just a leisure horse that anybody can ride.
Okay. Now, I see that you have a video.
I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
Your Honor, may I make a comment on this video?
Yeah, tell me who you are.
My name's Adam Marriott. I'm one of the writers in the video. Just like to say a few things as we watch it.
Are you a friend of his? Is that what you...
I am, yeah. You see here Ryan right here. He's the rider right now, going up to the horse, and she pins her ears back, which means she's angry. And then obviously you can see she kicks. That could be dangerous. I mean, we're about to put up a beware of horse sign in front of the pasture.
Judge, can I say something, or is this their turn?
No, it's their turn.
Okay, as we saddle the horse, he has to hold her head really tight or else she'll turn around and bite us. And so we put it on pretty gently, and here she goes, trying to stomp on us and rear up a little bit. So we ride about 10 paces, try to turn her head very gently, she starts bucking. You see I'm swaying with her just to stay on. And here she goes, she rears up.
Okay, and that was you riding the horse?
That was me riding.
Are you an experienced rider, sir?
I am.
Okay. Now it's your turn.
Okay. When they came over to my ranch, we saddled up 2 horses. I had an inexperienced employee of mine get on the horse first, rode the horse around. They got on the horse, him and those 2, and rode off my property away from the herd. If a horse is going to act up, it's going to be during that time period when you pull it away from a herd.
How do you account, sir, for that kind of behavior?
Okay, let me finish. They rode the horse off my property for quite some time. They came back and said, we want this horse.
I understand that that's what you're saying, sir. I understand.
I can get a horse to do that. It looks like they're, they're inexperienced people. And maybe, I don't know what they've done to the horse. It's an animal. It's a living thing. It's not a machine. The horse never acted like that prior. I've had little kids on the horse and experienced people on the horse, and they rode the horse.
When did you first contact Mr. Hummel and tell him that you were having difficulty with the horse?
3 days. I have my phone log right here showing the cell phone that matches the ad. It's highlighted. 3 days after we purchased the horse. He told us the horse was in heat, that it was away from the herd, it needed to calm down. He kept referring to the horse as a sweetheart. But, I mean, she just progressively got worse. And we gave him a week. I just believed him for a week.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There's something fishy with regard to your story about where you get all your horses and when you bought them.
Why is that fishy?
Because I could tell from your gait, sir. That's what I do for a living. I can tell when somebody's not telling me the whole truth.
And later today,
my daughter was involved in a murder. There was 3 involved in the crime. She was a driver of a getaway car, so she got 18 years.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jeremy Hull says fellow horse owner Greg Hummel sold him a horse that had not been broken.
Okay. When you called him again and said that her behavior hadn't changed, what did he say?
He just was saying, what do you want me to do? What do you want from me? And so I said, I want my money
I want
back.
you to take your horse back.
Yeah. No. She's not well broke. He accused me of calling him a liar and wanted me to call back and apologize to him.
Well, he's not telling the truth. I offered him another horse out of the 7. I said, come and bring the horse back.
He offered Rose.
For what? Let me finish. He's had quite a bit of time.
Absolutely.
We sat there and saddled those horses up right in front of him.
I understand that, sir. I'm not calling you a liar.
No, no.
I'm not suggesting that you... Listen to me. I'm not calling you a liar at this moment. I don't believe everything that you're telling me about your friend in Utah with the horses, because I can tell when somebody is not telling me the whole truth. There's something strange about that, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but there's something peculiar about it. But I'm not accusing you of doing anything before they arrive. Put your hand down.
I'm sorry.
Don't you notice that I see you?
Yes,
I'm in the middle of talking.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not accusing you of doing anything, sir. He may accuse you of maybe giving this horse a little something to calm it down while he was there. I didn't say that at all. All I'm suggesting is there's something fishy with regard to your story about where you get all your horses and when you bought them.
Why is that fishy?
Because I could tell from your gait, sir. That's what I do for a living. I've been doing it for 35 years. I can tell when somebody's not telling me the whole truth, Mr. Hummel. And whatever else you did today with regard to your story about where you got the horses from, when you got the horses, what you paid for them, and how long you've had them, something isn't quite right. I don't have to necessarily figure out what that is because it's not particularly relevant to this lawsuit. I understand what you're telling me, that they came, that they saddled up the horses, that they rode off of your property, that the horse behaved reasonably on your property, that they came back the next day. The next day when they came back, they found that there was slight difficulty with the horse, getting the horse into a trailer. But that's a possible problem with most horses. They don't like to go into trailers. It's a confined space. They finally got it in. Practically immediately, they called and said to you, listen, we answered an ad for a well-broken horse. I am an experienced rider of horses, and I can't ride them. And certainly, my father can't ride them. So since you were aware, Mr. Hummel, that this horse was being purchased for a particular purpose, you have two choices. Either you say, listen, let the buyer beware. You buy a horse, you take it as you find it, and you're stuck with it. Or a horse must have a warranty, in this case, that it could be ridden, and it could be ridden by someone who is inexperienced and not a good rider. And clearly, based upon what I saw, that's not a possibility. So you're getting your horse back, Mr. Hummel. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100, which is what you paid. Is that right?
Yes.
Bring him back his horse. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They rode the horse off my property. Obviously, the guy, maybe his wife said he couldn't have the horse.
He wasn't man enough to deal with the horse and our problems in the first place.
I'm an experienced horseman. I've been through a fire science program.
It's crazy. We have 5 other horses, and they're a dream.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stewart versus Marshall. Step forward, please.
Electrician Terry Stewart is suing her daughter, 28-year-old nurse's assistant Amy Marshall, for a loan to pay off a bingo hall fine.
Miss Stewart, this is your daughter?
Yes.
You look very much alike. Do you know that?
Yep.
One day you're going to wake up, 10 years from now, you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to say, when did I become my mother? You say your daughter owes you some money for a loan.
Yes.
loan that you made a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Your daughter says that it was not a loan, it was a Christmas gift. You made Christmas gift to one of your other children, and you take care of one of your other children, so she doesn't understand why you're suing her, right?
Right.
When did you make this loan, and what was it for, Miss Stewart?
I took out a loan for my daughter when she had called me and asked me because she had...
Give me the date.
The date was 2002.
Do you remember what month in 2002?
December.
Tell me, to the best of your recollection, what the telephone conversation was.
She called me and asked me for a loan. For the reason is because she owed a lawyer some money.
What did she owe a lawyer money for?
She had bounced a check for $40. Somehow it just got out of hand, and a lawyer got a hold of the check because it was a bingo hall, and a bingo hall won't hold on to it too long. So they took her to court, and they said that it was supposed to owe them $800. And so she goes, Mom, I'm going to have to go to jail if I don't pay the $800.
So she gave somebody a bad check?
Yes.
Is that what happened?
Long story short, it ended up being a bad check, yes.
I like to cut to the chase because I have other things to do today. So your daughter was arrested for bounced check?
I was never arrested.
But you were threatened with arrest unless you made good on this check?
Right.
So you called your mother?
Yes.
And what did you say to your mother when you called her?
I told her I was going to end up going to court for the check, but the lawyer was willing to settle, so I needed the money right away to pay the lawyer.
And how much did you tell her you needed?
I don't remember offhand.
She asked for $1,500 because she needed $800 to pay for the lawyer, and she wanted $700 to help her with the children for Christmas.
And what did you say?
And I said I would co-sign because this started out to be a co-sign thing, but then I couldn't co-sign. I had to take the loan out in my own name. And I had asked her, if I do this, please don't renege on the loan.
So you took out a loan?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
The thing of it is, she helps my sister out every single day. She takes care of her kids. She gives her money. She goes to see her. She was going every week for the first couple years to see her. She drives right by my house.
Your sister's in jail?
Yes.
What is she incarcerated for?
I don't know exactly.
I do. My daughter was involved in a murder,
a robbery?
Yes, a mass armed robbery. And there was 3 involved in the crime. She was a driver of a getaway car, so she got 18 years.
Who takes care of her children?
I do.
How old are her children?
8, 7, and Trinity will be 5. I've had Trinity since she was a day old.
Because my sister didn't want her. Yep. I know.
How old are you?
28.
You have children?
Yes, I do.
How many?
3.
Are you married?
Yes, I am. To the father of my 2 younger children.
How long have you been married?
Almost 6 years.
So what are you so mad at your mother about? Because she takes care of your sister's 3 children and she goes to visit your sister?
And she goes right by my house to go see her. She doesn't stop. She actually works with my husband. And I've seen her at my husband's work. She never knows so much as a hi. She walks right by me.
Why?
I don't know.
What do you think she's angry about?
This is anger way before this loan. I hadn't seen her for almost 6 years. She wasn't around for any of my kids' births. She wasn't around for my wedding. Wasn't around for my graduation. Nothing.
Where were you?
Where was I? I was told I wasn't allowed to see her by her father. I wasn't allowed to talk to them. She knows this.
Were you raised by your father?
Yes, my father and his wife. But I moved out when I was 20.
Finally, after 7 years, her husband told her that she should look me up, and she did. And she called me, and we started talking.
Okay. Miss Marshall, I read your answer. And what your answer says was these were gifts. Well, clearly you've acknowledged today, even though you may not recognize it, that this was a loan. And what it appears to me is that you're angry because your mother has taken on the burden and the responsibility of your sister's children, and she has neglected you. And so you feel as if you're entitled to this. The law doesn't work that way. Your mother took out a loan because you called and asked her to take out a loan.
Right.
You paid her back some of it.
Yep.
Right?
Yes, I did.
So it's unfortunate for your mother that she's had to take on the responsibility of raising 3 children until they're grown.
May I stop? I also have an 8-year-old son of my own.
So now I have 4 children.
Yes.
Who helps you take care of the children?
My mother does.
Your mother?
Yes, my mother.
How much do you owe your mother?
I made 4 payments. That was $400. And I gave her my big screen TV. She gave me $300 cash for it, and $500 was supposed to be towards that loan. So that's $900 towards the loan that was paid.
No, the $500 we only was the first time she got $500 from me for my taxes. So I gave her $500, and then when they were selling the big screen TV, I said, I'll give you $300 because I knew they needed some money, but you still owe me the $500 towards the taxes that you borrowed from me. So this will set it straight.
Does that sound familiar?
No. It was supposed to go towards that loan.
Well, you people have to keep better records. How many payments did your daughter make to you in cash for this loan? I'm not talking about television. I'm not talking about anything else. How much?
$800 in cash she paid towards that loan.
Okay, good. You don't see her children?
She wouldn't let me see my grandchildren.
Why don't you stop by her house when you go to visit your daughter?
I didn't know where she lived. Somebody else had to tell me where she lived.
You have any objection to your mother stopping by and seeing the children?
No, I don't. I encourage it. I want to see my nieces, too.
We can do that.
Well, why don't you do that? Why don't you do that on Sunday?
That's when she usually goes to see my sister.
Why don't you do that on Sunday?
I don't.
What time do you go to visit your daughter?
I leave about 10 o'clock in the morning.
And what time do you get back?
About 9 o'clock at night.
That's a long day.
I take my mom to see her handicapped brother, which my mom is handicapped, so I take her when I go to see my daughter so my mom can see her brother.
Oh, my goodness. Why don't you make time on the weekend?
Yes.
To go to see your daughter with her 3 nieces who she would like to see, visit your grandchildren, spend an hour.
I can do that. I miss my grandchildren. I can do that.
And I miss my mother. You know, I actually, the day before I got these papers, I actually called her to reconcile.
She did.
You know, and I don't know why I always have to be the one that calls her.
Well, you shouldn't be.
I shouldn't.
All right, let's make arrangements to do it on Sunday.
We can do that.
Okay? Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. Thank you.
Parties are excused.
Computer programmer Hayward Berger is suing his ex-wife, speech pathologist Cynthia Berger, for the return of $300 he overpaid in child support. Cynthia says she used the money to pay for their daughter's graduation.
Come to order. All rise. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 334 on the calendar in the matter of Berger versus Berger. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, folks. Have seats.
Mr. Berger, you and the defendant used to be married. You have 2 children together. You've been divorced according to your complaint for 18 years.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that your former wife owes you $302.44, which you claim you overpaid in child support for one of your children. You graduated from high school and the money was taken out of your pay.
Yes, ma'am.
You want her to give you back that money.
Yes, ma'am.
And your former wife says that she used that money for your daughter's graduation, the expenses for her graduation, and get over it. Which, quite frankly, considering everything in this world, would be my response to you, too, were you my ex-husband. But since we're not there, I'm going to find out whether there is any merit to your claim, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You have how many children?
4.
How old are they?
The youngest is 14. The oldest is 24.
Okay, and with the defendant, you have an 18-year-old?
Yes, ma'am.
And?
22-year-old.
So it's only your 18-year-old daughter that we have issue with. Your younger children still live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how much child support were you paying when both children were living with your former wife?
When I was paying for both of them, at the end, it was $300 a week, I think it was.
$300 a week or $300 a month?
Sometimes support was ordered per month. Sometimes it was ordered per week.
You know?
Yes, ma'am. It was $760.
A month?
Yes, ma'am. This is the documentation of all the, since it's been going through child support enforcement, of how much he's been paying.
Did you ever pay, sir, $1,500 a month for support?
$1,500 a month? No,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So when you told me $300, that you were talking about $300 per month, not per week.
Yes, ma'am.
Per month.
It's been, sometimes support was ordered per week.
I understand that,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
when it was ordered per week, it was never $300 a week.
No, ma'am.
Well, then you made a mistake.
If I said that, then yes, I did.
Yes, you made a mistake. It was never $300 a week. Maybe it was $300 a month.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to find out.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just wanted to find out whether you've been an overindulgent parent.
I've always paid what the court ordered me to pay.
I understand that you've always paid what the court ordered you to pay, sir. I also understand that you've had 2 more children and you've been able to at least contribute to their support also, and you have another family, which is really my question. Your daughter graduated from high school. They took out a payment after she graduated from high school of $300, and you want the money back.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain it to me.
The support was ordered to cease on June the 14th. They took out the full month of June, and I'm just asking for the other 2 weeks that shouldn't have been taken out.
Did you ask your former wife about it?
Yes, ma'am. I sent
And what did she say to you?
She said no.
Did she say anything about graduation expenses?
No, ma'am, she did not.
If she said something to you about graduation expenses, you know, the additional money that she had for graduation, for ring, for gown, for whatever. Gown, ring?
Shoes, everything.
Would you have said, sure, it's a one-shot deal?
We could have discussed it, yes, ma'am.
So why didn't you tell her?
I didn't tell him because every time I've tried to explain him, all I get back are nasty letters, and I really just didn't think he would do anything. I mean, he hadn't laid eyes on her in 2 years. So I didn't think he would do anything else.
Judge,
yes.
I've done extra. I bought both of the children a car. That's doing something extra.
That's true.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right, but that wasn't within the last 2 years, and I said 2 years he hasn't laid eyes on
Well, what
me.
happened 2 years ago, Mr. Berger?
I got tired. I mean, I never received phone calls from him. You know, she's changed her phone number. I have tried to call, but the phone number has been changed. I don't know when. Might have been recently. I don't know. I just basically give up.
That's too bad.
Yes, ma'am.
Did your father buy you a car?
He did.
Okay. Tell me your name.
Stacy Stack.
Stacy. When did he buy you a car?
2.5 years ago.
Did you thank him?
I did.
You still using the car?
No, ma'am.
What happened to it?
We went to go get it inspected, and the family friend that inspected it said that it wasn't good. It was rusted underneath, and that it could break down at any time. So we bought a new car.
How long did you use it for?
I used it for about 6 months.
Okay. So before 2 years ago, you had contact with your dad?
Not a lot. I called him. The last time that I've talked to him or seen him was I called him so I can go up there and see him, and then he said okay, and then the day of, or the day before, he came by and said, no, we have to go somewhere else, and they left, and I haven't talked to him or seen him since then.
That sound familiar?
I think something came up at that time. Yes, ma'am.
Can't come up.
Ma'am?
Nothing can come up. Nothing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Berger, you're going to get your $302 back.
Yes, ma'am.
You might want to buy something nice for your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Remember, you have 4 children.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And later today,
I was told by the 6-year-old that the boyfriend had picked him up by his ears and dropped him to the floor. And so I called DHS because if he'd do this, he might do something worse.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hayward Berger claims ex-wife Cynthia Berger owes for the return of child support. Hayward says he overpaid by $300.
All very sad. There really is no defense to it. Money was supposed to stop, correct?
According to the papers, yes. When we went to court, before we go in, child support enforcement speaks to me, and they told me that it would continue to the end of the month. He was still obligated to the end of the month. I said, are you sure? Yes, he's obligated to the end of the month. I said, okay. We went in, and the judge said he would stop because he wanted it stopped on her graduation day. And I called child support enforcement again, told them, you know, and they said, no, he's still obligated till the end of the month. So I just, you know.
You took it. The judge makes the order, and the judge said it's supposed to stop on the 14th. How old are you?
18.
When were you 18?
March 13th.
Okay. And the overpayment was $302?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Berger?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to get your $302 back.
Yes, ma'am.
You might want to buy something nice for your daughter, but you're entitled to it back.
Yes, ma'am.
Remember, you have 4 children.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $302.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It seems like when it counts in front of the judge or whatever, she comes off as a good guy and I come off as a bad guy.
Every time he's mad at me, he hasn't seen the children. He didn't take the children. He doesn't buy them presents, and he says it's because of me.
My daughter going by my ex-wife's maiden name shows some of what's been going on, the brainwashing for the kids.
I would have liked him to start seeing us when we were little so we'd get to know him, but we're older now and we know what happened, so.
There's many, many, many trips I've made. It's a 2.5-hour drive from my house to their house to pick the children up.
He's never tried. He cares more about the money than myself and my brother.
I would like to have a relationship with my kids in Richmond with and try to mend fences if possible.
Maybe it's hopefully the last thing I see of him. I haven't seen him in 2 years, and it really doesn't bother me any.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Isbell versus Espinoza. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Holly Isbell is suing her former friend, 25-year-old nurse's assistant Michelle Espinoza, for unpaid babysitting fees and miscellaneous expenses. Holly says she cared for Michelle's kids while she was in the hospital.
Ms. Isbell, according to your complaint, the defendant was hospitalized.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were contacted to see if you could fill in while she was hospitalized, which was on an emergency basis, to watch her 5 children?
Yes, ma'am.
You agreed to watch her children, and you want to be reimbursed for babysitting services as well as miscellaneous expenses for the children while they were in your care.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Espinoza says the two of you were friends. You used to watch each other's children all the time. You filled in for each other. There was never an agreement to pay you for babysitting services, and she doesn't owe you anything. In addition to the babysitting services, it is your claim that the defendant also has embarked on various acts of harassment, and
Yes,
you want
ma'am.
to be compensated for that. How long have the two of you been friends?
Probably for about a year and a half, almost to 2 years.
And you have children?
Yes, I do. I have 3.
How old are your children?
Mine are 12, 6, and 4.
And how old are Miss Espinoza's children?
6, 3, almost 2. She has 2 twins. And then the baby is almost 8 months.
And were there times when the two of you exchanged babysitting services?
I remember one time that she's watched my children, yes.
And was there any payment?
No, there wasn't.
Any other times that you watched her children?
There was payment, yes, ma'am.
Now, when did you go into the hospital?
On the 21st of April.
For what?
For kidney stones.
When did you receive a call, Miss Isbell, that there was need for your service?
I received a call from one of her friends on March 21st. She said that Michelle told her to call me because she needed somebody to watch the kids for a couple of days, that she was going to go in the hospital. And I called the hospital, and they said that she had already been admitted. So they gave me her room number, and she was in pain. She said that they were already giving her pain medicine, and that her fever was really high, and that they didn't know what was really wrong with her at the time, and that it was only going to be for a couple of days. I agreed to watch them for a couple of days.
Fine.
And in that agreement, I said the same arrangement goes as prior. And
No,
she
no,
agreed.
Miss Isbell, I don't think you said that to her. I think you're a nice lady, and I think that if somebody is saying to you, I'm in the hospital and I have a very high fever and I'm in a lot of pain, I don't think that a nice lady like you would say, well, I'll take care of the children for a couple of days, but you know it's going to be on the same payment arrangement that we had before. I don't think you would say that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
So the children were dropped off at your house, and then what happened?
They were dropped off, and what was brought in was a gallon of milk and a few diapers and about a half of baby formula, about this big. And then when I called her at the hospital, because I didn't know how to reach her boyfriend, I said, look, you know, the kids are running out of diapers again.
When did you call her?
The very next day. And she said that she was fixing to have tests, and that she would get a hold of her boyfriend, and that she would bring all the stuff that was needed. Well,
Not she.
Not she, but the boyfriend. Well, he brought over a bag of potato chips, about 7 cans of Cokes, and that was it. And then I noticed bruisings on some of the kids, and just different things that were happening. And the 3-year-old had bruisings on his ears. And then when I called to ask Michelle about that, she said that she hadn't noticed anything about that. And then I was told by the 6-year-old and by the 3-year-old that the boyfriend had picked him up as a punishment by his ears and dropped him to the floor. And so I called DHS because I was scared that if he'd do this, he might do something worse.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Holly Isbell says former friend Michelle Espinoza owes for unpaid babysitting fees. Michelle says there was never an agreement to pay.
Where was the boyfriend for the 4 days?
He works.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a cook.
And did you give her any money for the 4 days that she watched the children? Just not for payment, but for the food that they ate. You know, if it costs her an extra $150 for the 4 days,
When
that the
she-
children are with you. Let me finish. If it cost her an extra $150, don't you think that it was your responsibility, your boyfriend's responsibility to see to it that she had what she needed for the children?
When I offered her for money or to bring groceries over there, because I can't just give her my food stamp card because I'd get in trouble.
I'm not asking you to give her your food stamp card. Your boyfriend works. I assume that he works for money, not food stamps. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how much money did he give her?
None that I know of.
Right. Well, that's not fair.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'm the one that packed everything for her kids.
Well, then come up and tell me what you packed. Tell me your name.
And I called her in the beginning.
Tell me your name.
Jessica Flores.
All right, Miss Flores, what did you bring over for the children?
I packed 4 changes of clothes, 3 sleeping clothes.
I'm not talking about clothes.
Okay.
Let's not talk about clothes.
I
She
gave
didn't
her
buy any clothes.
24 diapers for the
24
baby.
diapers?
For the baby. And the twins are in diapers. I gave her 50 for the twins. And when I did the milk, Michelle had the big count. I don't know how many ounces, but it's not the 12 ounce. It's like a 32 ounce, and it was brand new. It wasn't even opened. I put that in with the Pampers and a gallon of milk because Michelle told me that's all she wanted.
Is that what she brought over to you?
No, ma'am.
What
It
did
was
she bring
not.
over?
She brought over, now the can size is right, but it was half full. And she did not pack 50 diapers for the twins. It was more like 12.
Do you have a receipt for items that you bought for the children during that time?
I do not, because I only paid once to buy just a really cheap pack of diapers for the twins.
So how much did you pay?
Food was $169.41 because I had to replace everything, you know, because they ate a lot.
Okay,
They didn't get to go to school.
$169.41 for 4 days for 5 children. What else?
And I'm asking for replacement of the mattress or replacement of the bed because her oldest son had wet on the bed for 2 nights and hid it.
Well, how old is he?
He's 6.
Okay. Do you think that it's possible that his mother is in the hospital and he's taken out of his familiar surroundings and he's taken to your house, that he's a little bit agitated, so you're blaming a 6-year-old because he tried to hide the fact that he had had an accident in the bed? Miss Isbell, get it together. And tell me about the harassment.
She would call and she would leave messages on my phone. And I have one tape.
I'd like to hear it.
Holly, I don't appreciate you going to a mission outreach or Compassion or wherever and using my name to get my children diapers, and when you tell me you paid for them, what kind of Christian person are you? Now, I'm sick of you trying to run around this town and ruin my name or giving me bad trouble. You keep on and you will have trouble yourself, Holly. Now, I'm just a little bit sick and tired of this.
All right, so she's telling you she's angry because you've been saying bad things about her. Go ahead.
But
it's not harassment.
Well, this was because 2 days after, DHS was knocking on my door. And there's another case involving me and my daughter that she knows about. It involves a sexual act that happened to someone, and she knew about it. And
so you think that she called Children's Services to report on you?
I really believe that.
Okay, she may have, but you can't prove it. So far, I think that she has to reimburse you for your expenses with regard to taking care of her children, because I think that that's the right thing to do. And I think that there was probably an implied agreement to take care of your children's necessaries. Now, how much do you think is appropriate to reimburse Miss Isbell for the service that she provided in watching your children for 4 days?
I don't know what she purchased on my children. She went to the Compassion Outreach for diapers that she said she purchased herself.
No, she's not asking for diapers. She's not asking for diapers at all. She spent $169.41. That's what she says she spent
If she
for the
spent
children.
that, why didn't she ask me for groceries when I asked her to go get them?
Oh, I want you to turn around and look at her. Turn around and look at her. Miss Espinoza, I want you to say the following words. Thank you for taking care of my children when I couldn't and my boyfriend couldn't.
Thank you for taking care of my children when I couldn't and my boyfriend couldn't.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $169.41. Thank you.
Parties are excused when they step out. Versus Thieves. Step forward, please.
24-year-old massage therapist Christy Nelson is suing boyfriend Oliver Thies for assault and property damage. He claims he left Christy because she was too intimate with one of her massage clients.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 72 on the calendar in the matter of Nelson versus Thies. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Nelson, I always get nervous when I see somebody bringing in their papers in shopping bags.
Well, I just had to bring in my evidence of my broken stuff.
According to this complaint, listen, according to this complaint, you met this past New Year's Eve at a party. And you moved in the next day to her house?
About 3 days later.
So you were sure that this was going to be it?
Looked pretty good at the time.
And, Miss Nelson, you allege in your complaint that things went from bad to worse.
Yes.
That you lent Mr. Thies a lot of money.
Yes, I did.
And that he became jealous, obsessive.
Yes.
Destroyed all your property in a fit of rage. You want $5,000.
Yes.
He says that nothing could be farther from the truth. He destroyed your own property when you were in a fit of rage, and he wants money from you, including his moving costs.
Okay.
So far, is that the case?
Yes.
So, let's hear your side of the story.
Okay, well, basically, he moved in with me, and everything was good in the beginning, but I do massage for a living. I'm a masseuse, and he started accusing me of sleeping with my clients when I went over there, and so that caused a lot of problems in our relationship, and I said that's far from the truth. I invited him to go with me on my massages to these people's houses, and he went with me, saw nothing was going on, and still accused me of that, and so things got worse. He started physically hitting me, hit me in the chest when I was in the car once and pulled me forward and demanded my money, and so of course I gave it to him. I was scared, and he
demanded what money?
Money out of my pocket. Yes,
just
it is.
a second. Just a second. I'll get to you.
And so that was just one incident. He's also given me a bloody nose. He's hit me upside the head.
So when did you decide that you had had enough, madam? I mean, when,
I needed a few
you
more
know,
abuses.
to me, if somebody is thinking about putting his hands on me, that's enough to throw his behind out the front door.
I always thought that too until I was in a situation. I thought I was madly in love with him, and I thought that things
How could you
would get
be
better.
madly in love with somebody who
Well,
beats
because he's
you?
very charming.
There's nothing charming about giving you a bloody nose.
Yeah, that's true. But, and then he went through
There's no buts there.
Rages, yes, it's true. And destroyed my property. He destroyed my camcorder, $1,000. I haven't even finished paying this yet.
How did he destroy your camcorder?
Some sort of tool. He stabbed into it and then busted into a million pieces. He found a phone bill of mine.
Not true.
I had my cell phone that he destroyed.
And so tell me how that happened.
He was saying, you were calling all these guys on your phone, or I see it on your phone bill. I called all these people, and you're cheating on me and all this stuff.
It's not true, Judge.
I haven't heard about the loans that you made to him. You said you made a loan.
Okay, yes. I gave him, I have a receipt here from the real estate guy saying that I did give $1,000 for the down payment on a house or to hold it, and if it didn't go through, that I would get the money back, but I didn't get the money back. He took it, and he says it right here on this piece of paper right here. I also have...
Can I see it, please?
It's not true, Judge. I never said
I
anything on
have...
that piece of paper.
Just a second.
You did too.
Hey, can I see it, please?
Yes, and then there's checks right there of what he owes me for things I bought him for his window washing service and for the DMV that I paid for his car insurance.
Okay. All right. Now, let's hear your side of the story, and then we'll get to this money.
Yeah, it's like you said. We met on New Year's Eve, and we thought things were going to be, you know, nice. It was going to be a nice relationship. At least that's how I thought it was going. And, you know, she decided that she was going to be doing massage, telling me how she just does legitimate massage. Now, we moved into an apartment complex called the Marina Harbor Apartments, and where this apartment was located was right next to a laundry room. So I could be in the laundry room and actually look into the living room and see everything that was going on. And she wasn't just giving massages. So, you know, I told her I wasn't going to hang out with her anymore.
How do you know that?
Because I saw it for myself with my eyes.
You're telling me that she was being indiscreet in your own home, with you home?
Yeah. as I was, yeah, she's just telling me she was doing an in-call massage, and it wasn't a massage. And she just completely humiliates me constantly.
Well, let me ask you this question. So when did you see that?
This was back in April.
When did you separate?
Mother's Day.
I tried to separate from her that day, and she came running after me, telling me how, you know, she was sorry and this and that, and she just needed to make some money because that's how she makes a living, and she's been making a living like that for 4 years. She's been arrested twice for that kind of a charge. I'm not exactly sure what it is.
Have you been arrested twice?
I have been arrested, but I have not been convicted of anything.
And
what were you arrested for?
Prostitution.
Go ahead.
So anyways, you know, at that point, our relationship kind of fizzled out, and she took it into her own hands to try to keep me around any way she knew possible, and I actually tried to stick it out for a while, and then I just got fed up and I left, because she continued to see this Taiwanese guy from Taiwan, and she just wouldn't let it go, you know. And, you know, I've talked to this guy, I've confronted him, and he's a complete weirdo, you know, and he knows that we're boy and girlfriend at the time, and he just won't stop. And she's all into this guy, and I just got fed up. I left. In her fits of rage, she would throw things at me, and I don't know. She's trying to get money out of anybody and everything that she can, and she's trying to get money out of me.
Let me ask you this question, sir. Something that you said to me doesn't make sense, and I really don't understand it.
Mm.
If I saw somebody that I was in love with, living with, having sex, which is, I assume, what you're talking about.
Yeah, it is.
With somebody in my house, I wouldn't stick around.
I didn't. I left.
No, you didn't. You came back. You said she told you to come back, and you came back.
Well, when you live with somebody, you create, you know, emotional bonding, and I had some real strong feelings for her. You know, so you can overlook a lot of things when you have emotional feelings for somebody. So that's what I did. And I know I was very deeply hurt, you know, and I'm still very deeply hurt. And
well,
that's why we're
there are
not
a couple of
together now.
lessons in that, sir. One of the lessons is you don't meet somebody on January 1st and move in with them on January 3rd. That's very dumb.
Yeah, this is L.A.
That's
though.
very dumb. Yes. This is L.A. This is still part of the universe, the last time I heard.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You forget that I'm 12 weeks pregnant with your baby, okay?
Well, it
now,
could be the
gonna
Taiwanese
No,
guy's
I'm not
child.
having sex with Taiwanese, all right?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Oliver Thies denies he damaged any of his girlfriend, Christy Nelson's property, or that he assaulted her. He claims Christy owes him for emotional stress during their relationship.
Not everybody who lives in L.A. are cretins. They're mostly very smart people. Most people who live in L.A. do not meet somebody on the 1st and move in with them and set up housekeeping on the 3rd, find out, according to you, that the person to whom they've given their heart is a prostitute, right? And then stick around.
Well, I didn't find out she was an actual prostitute till about 5 months later.
That's not true.
When she actually told me she was arrested and her past life, and that's when I found out, and that's when I was out for good.
Did you ever take any money from her?
No, I never did.
You took $1,000 from her to put down as a down payment on a house. What do you mean? That's a well is not an answer, sir. Make sure I get everything truthfully from you. Did you take $1,000 from her?
She did give me $1,000.
Just a minute, now we're getting to it. She did give you $1,000.
But I've given it back to her.
Well, how?
Just cash. Give it back to her cash.
When?
That day, as a matter of fact. Because I already had enough in my bank account to cover that.
Well, why would you let her give the $1,000 in cash if you gave it back to her the same day?
Well, why would she want to give $1,000 up anyways?
Because we were getting a house together.
Is that an answer?
Well, we didn't get a house together, so I gave her back her money.
This was a very bad idea for the two of you. This was a very bad idea for the two of you.
Anyways,
Here, give this back.
I am now,
I have no IOUs with her. If she has anything that says I owe her anything,
well, you know what, Oliver?
and she can show that right now.
But I'm 12 weeks pregnant with your baby, okay?
Well, it
now,
could be the Taiwanese
No,
guy's
I'm not
child.
having sex with Taiwanese, all right?
Miss Nelson, Miss Nelson, listen to me. You're not going to resolve the fact that you are pregnant and the parentage of that child until the child is born. Do you know that? You understand that?
Yes.
See, now she's just trying to get money out of me any way she can, because she's trying.
I also
She
have a
knows
tape
she
here.
has a
It's
kid
him
coming.
admitting that it's his baby, and him giving me threatening messages that he's going to bust my face into a million pieces if I don't get an abortion.
Listen to me. What does that have to do with the price of tomatoes?
Well, that just has to do with how violent he really is. It's his nature, and he did destroy all my property.
Did you destroy any of her property, sir?
No, I didn't.
How did the property get destroyed? All that
I
stuff.
have no idea. Probably the Taiwanese guy, when he got mad, he found out she was trying to keep it a secret that I was her boyfriend with this guy. Okay, guess who she's living with now? Ask her. Taiwanese.
That would be
He's a
interesting.
midget.
Miss Nelson.
Oh, you are...
He goes to
Miss
USC.
Nelson, sounds to me as if the two of you made some very serious mistakes, and quite frankly, neither of you has record sufficient to demonstrate to me whether he owes you money for loans. He says he paid for your car. You have any proof of that, sir?
Of?
That you paid for her car. That's one of the things that
I
you're
just gave her
claiming
cash
for.
all the time.
So you have no proof?
It was good faith, and we were getting along back then when I did give her money.
I can't rely on your good faith because neither of you has too much upstairs. It's the truth.
Judge Judy will continue. And later today,
You're unlucky that you don't like women. I'm sorry for you. And it's your loss, Eddie, that you've lost all your children, all right?
Oh, really?
You don't have another chance.
Okay.
You're
See
too
ya.
old.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Oliver Thies denies he damaged any of his girlfriend, Christy Nelson's property, or that he assaulted her. He claims Christy owes him for emotional stress during their relationship.
When I read these papers initially, I said, he's probably pretty nutty, living with somebody who he says he saw having sex with somebody in his house. But you've been arrested twice for prostitution. Maybe there's a possibility
Once.
that he's...
And that was 5 years ago. For dancing.
She can't even get her
It was
story
not
straight.
convicted.
It's a little
In any event, you also want $1,100 for moving.
Yes, I had to get a new apartment. I had first and last month's rent, and it left me with less money than I had. Okay, and I needed a place immediately.
You don't really expect me to give you any money for that, do you, from her? You don't really expect me to do that, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yes.
Dream on, sir. Listen, very rarely do I hear a case where I feel as if both people in a relationship such as yours sort of deserve each other. That's the way I feel in this case. You started out dumb, you ended up dumb, probably both a little poorer. Your complaint is dismissed, your countersuit is dismissed. Go and have a happy life.
You are excused. You may step out.
I have a restraining order on him. I want him to stay away because he does harass me. He's punched my friends out, and that's a problem. You know, he's got a really bad temper. I mean, and I still care about him very much.
I saw a short Taiwanese man in there.
Party's on. Razzo versus Winkler. Step forward, please.
After 18 years paying only $75 a month child support, 45-year-old construction worker Ed Razzo is suing his ex-wife, Pamela Winkler, for overpayment.
Mr. Razzo, Miss Winkler is the mother of your son, who is now 18 years old?
19.
19?
19.
And you are suing her for $3,000, almost $3,000.
Yes, ma'am.
I've read your complaint. I would like you to tell me why you're suing her for $3,000.
Well, I figure she owes it to me.
Oh, let's go back so that we have the story from the beginning. You had a child together.
Right.
You were never married.
No.
And you were under a court order to pay support.
Yes, ma'am.
Child never lived with you, I assume.
No.
How long had you been under a support order?
For 18 years.
And what was the support order?
$75 per month.
$75 per month. Is that what it always was, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
She never took you back for increased support.
No.
So then there came a time when the child turned 18.
Yes, ma'am.
Start from there. So what did you do?
I felt that my obligation for child support was up, so I did not pay after his 18th birthday, and he had graduated supposedly.
From high school?
From high school.
Mm-hmm.
And a month later, I got a letter, a late notice, saying that I was still to pay.
Okay.
So
From the court?
From the court.
Not from her?
Not from her, from the court.
So what did you do?
So I continued to pay after this month, and they said if I didn't pay, they would yank my license.
Your driver's license?
My driver's license.
Okay.
So I continued to pay.
Okay.
And meantime, they did yank my license, come to find out.
So then what happened?
So I paid up, and then I had got pulled over for making an illegal turn, and they impounded my car for 30 days.
They, the police?
The police.
You paid, according to you, an extra 6 months.
Right.
Is that right? Altogether?
Altogether.
After the child reached 18.
Right.
And this was because you were told to do that by the state.
Yes.
Now, I'd like you to tell me, so 6 months times 75 is what
Yes,
you
ma'am.
say you overpaid.
Right.
That's $450.
Right.
So now would you please tell me why you're suing her for $3,000?
Okay. Well, the impound fees, which was close to $500, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and missing work for a month, not having my vehicle.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
Construction.
And how much do you make a month?
I usually make $500-600 a month.
$500 to $600 a month?
$500 to $600 a week, excuse me.
$500 to $600 a week? So you make at least $2,000 a month?
Right.
What I'd like to know is how you got away with paying $75 a month child support for 18 years.
You would have to ask her. She never went in to boost the child support, I guess.
People who are on the minimum wage maybe pay $75 a month in child support. Someone like you doesn't pay $75 a month in child support. You were given a gift for 18 years. Did you ever hear the word chutzpah?
No, I haven't. Sorry.
I'm going to tell you what it means. You know what chutzpah means, Bird? Chutzpah means gall. You got a lot of gall suing her for anything.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I know you haven't opened your mouth. It's not necessary. Thank you. If the state of California made a mistake, and as a result of that, your car was impounded, and you lost work, go sue the state. What are you suing her for? She's raised your child on pennies that you've given her a month.
Now, wait a minute. If
And
they
then
would
where
have
you
asked for
even came to-
$200 a month or $300, I would still pay it.
Just a second. You're a father. You don't have to be asked. You're a father.
Yep.
You're not supposed to be asked. You know in your soul, sir, you're an intelligent man, that $75 a month is an inadequate amount of support for you to contribute for a
She
child.
lives a lot better off than I do. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's fortunate, sir, that she lives better than you do. I'm telling you that this lady doesn't look to me as if she is driving around in a Mercedes, right, and living in a palatial place. And I'm telling you that if she didn't bother you over the years, you ought to give her 2 medals and mention her in your will, not bring her here to sue her. Your lawsuit's dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back over to your right.
And on the next Judge Judy, her courtroom, this is Judge Judy.
Parties on Griner, Zerga, Hominy versus Choseka.
22-year-old college co-ed Allison Griner and her roommates say apartment life with another roomie, Leslie Jaseko, was unbearable.
Order, all rise.
Yeah, this is case number 87 in the matter of Griner, Zerga, Omni versus Choseka.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Well, you four ladies are college students and decided to room together. Took an apartment. Correct?
Yes. Correct.
And I was really rather amused when I was reading your complaint against the defendant, who is a former roommate of yours. Complaint seeks unpaid rent in the amount of, I think, $625 for 2 months. Say she moved out. She owes you for 2 months rent. And also $80 because she broke a phone. What I found interesting about the complaint was that when you moved into the apartment, you got there first, correct?
Yes.
And you took the room with the view.
Right.
Did that really tick you off that she took the room?
Yeah, it really did.
I assumed it did. Even though I wasn't in here, I assumed that that started all the trouble. Am I right?
Yes, you are.
Love to be right. So you took the room with the view, and when they moved in, did they ask you to toss a coin, do something for that room?
They suggested other alternatives.
Like what?
Like maybe switch rooms every quarter or things like that. And one specific person, she's not here at the moment, but she had the most problem with it, and because I knew that she wanted the room with the ocean view. And it's too bad because we didn't have any agreement on it to begin with. And so it's first come, first serve.
Well, that's your rule.
We didn't have any agreement on it.
A coin toss was actually what was decided by the people who were there. Everyone thought that we should just toss the coin, and everyone decided that that would be the most equitable way, but Leslie didn't think that was good because she had already established herself in that room.
And I suggested adjusting the price of the rooms according to their benefits, and that was just out of the question for Leslie because she had the room that she liked, so of course we should each pay equal rent.
And it wasn't only that, there were a few other initial things, like within the first week we decided that we would have a roommate fund and everyone would contribute $10 to pay for things like cleaning supplies. Leslie didn't think that she didn't think that was a good idea, so everyone put in money but Leslie. We all decided that one of the chores that we would do would be recycling. Leslie's words were, I just don't see the point. She didn't see the point of recycling, so every week when it was her turn to recycle, someone had to do that for her.
Okay. How much were you ladies out?
When she left?
Yes.
Well, it's $400 a month, so for the first month, $400, and then the second month it's $400, but the manager decided to take $200 from our security deposit and use it towards the last month's rent because they didn't realize they had charged us too much. So $600. And $25 for a late fee.
Okay. Now, tell me about this telephone that you're suing for, an $80 telephone.
Okay, that's my phone. Leslie came home one day after being gone for about 3 days, and I had moved, she had taken a chair from the living room, practically the only thing that she owned in the house, and put it in our room, which I shared with her. And it was quite a large chair, and it's a pretty small room, so it took up a lot of room, so I had moved it into the living room. She came back.
While she wasn't there.
Right. And, you know, she wouldn't come home for 3 days, and it was an inconvenience to me. So when she came home, she immediately removed the chair from the room, and I explained why I had done it, and she said, well, it's my chair, and I want it in my room. And I said, fine, well, then if that's your chair, you know, if you're going to be petty, then we're going to be petty as well, and you can't use any of our things. And the phones in the house all happen to be mine. So she proceeded to make a phone call, and I told her she could not use my phone if she was going to be that way. And I warned her about 5 times that I was going to disconnect the phone if she didn't get off it, just because I really didn't feel like I had a choice.
Angry.
I was angry. Yes, so I did disconnect the phone, and at that point she smashed the phone against the wall with all her might and
Did you do
broke
that?
it. Unintentionally, yes, I did.
How do you unintentionally do that?
I threw it across the room and it hit the wall, but I didn't mean
Where
to
did
hit
you
it against
expect
the
it
wall.
to hit?
Just outside there somewhere, I don't know.
You broke the phone, you have to pay for it. How much
Well,
was
I
the phone?
do have my counterclaims for that.
How much was your phone?
It was $80, or for a new one, it's $80.
Okay. Now, I'd like to hear about your counterclaims.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who's using drugs every single day?
Huh, you guys.
How great is sex on ecstasy?
Oh, yeah.
I remember Catalina Island.
You know, I didn't...
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Leslie Chiseco, a 22-year-old law student, says she shouldn't have to pay for breaching a lease with her roommates because they made her life hell.
My counterclaims were the phone. First of all, Christina had my patio table stolen. I brought it in.
Christina had your patio table stolen. How did she do that?
What happens in the Isla Vista community is that a lot of people leave for a break, and a lot of times during break, things get stolen. And so I brought it specifically because I knew that there was a higher percentage of it being stolen. And so I brought it inside, and then when I came back from break, it was gone, and I didn't get an apology nor any kind of compensation or even an acknowledgement from her.
Do you know what happened to the patio table?
What happened was everyone had left for winter break, and there was just me and Leslie left. Leslie left, and she left and put the plastic table in the middle of the living room. I was still living in that place for another week, and there's a big plastic table in the middle of the room. So yes, I did put it outside. And, you know, so yes, we all got back from winter break, and yes, it had been taken.
This plastic table, where did you get it from?
It was my parents, and they paid approximately $150 for it. And when I went to Orchard Supply and Hardware, it was $69 without tax.
Okay. What else?
Also, before spring break, which is a week long, I left my car in our parking lot, in the apartment parking lot. And then they took it out into the street and left it there over spring break, causing it to be hit with a $315 damage. Estimated damage, and I do have the paperwork for that as well. I could show that to you.
I'd like to.
No, go. Do you want
to? I just want to explain that where we live, almost 90% of people park on the street, and Leslie left for spring break a few days before everyone else. And the car, the way the lot's structured is it's 3 in a row. She left her car in the last spot, but there were still 2 other people in front of her who needed to be driving. So it was moved onto the street, so the other 2 who were still living there could have access to their cars.
So they're parked one right behind
one
the other?
One behind the other. And she left it. She didn't say, hey, guys, I'm leaving. Make sure you put my car back in the lot. She didn't specifically say, I want my car in the lot for this week. She just left, leaving it there. We have a set of keys so everyone can move everyone's cars freely, and that's an agreement that we had.
Let me ask you a question. Did you park your car in the street at all?
I did, but when I left it in the parking lot. And no one ever moves a car from the street to the parking lot but that belonged to someone else. They would move it from the number 3, the last spot, to the number 1 spot.
We didn't
That's
have
not
a system
true at all.
for moving cars.
But you never.
Move them
No one has ever moved anyone's car from my. I am not lying.
Yes,
you guys won't take responsibility. You didn't even acknowledge it.
If you had cared that much, you should have put it in the first spot, Leslie.
Listen to me. Oh, and woken up everyone. I left late that night.
You moved their cars. We have our keys all there.
You don't move it and leave it there for a whole week, and you know all the.
First of all, we left, and it was not.
I'm still talking. All the cars get hit from on Del Playa Drive.
Listen. It would seem to me, madam, that if you wanted your car to be untouched for the time that you were away, and since the keys are readily accessible, you move the other 2 cars that were behind yours, because you're leaving. You put your car in the first space so that nobody else has to be inconvenienced with your car. That way, there is no reason whatsoever to move your car. Your car is in the first spot. Everybody else has to be behind you.
Actually,
why didn't you do that?
I also found out that.
Why didn't you do that?
Because we left in a hurry, and it was about.
That's your
and it
fault.
was in the middle of the night.
That's
but
your
no
fault.
one has ever moved the car out
Listen
to the street
me.
and left it there.
That requires you.
It is
to
true.
have,
you guys are lying.
Hey, that requires you to have a little consideration for other people. It requires you to put your car in a space where it's not going to inconvenience anybody else, since you were the first one leaving on spring break and they weren't leaving for a while. You chose not to do that. It's not their fault.
Judge Judy will continue. And later today.
She was one of my dearest friends. I've been to Easters and holidays at
She was part of my family, but, you know, she took advantage of me, obviously, and I don't appreciate that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 22-year-old college co-ed Allison Griner and her roommates say apartment life with another roomie, Leslie Chiseco, was unbearable.
All right. I don't know how much this table is worth. The table had been out for a long time. You could buy a new one for $69. I'm going to give you credit for $40 for the table, because I think if you put the table back outside and she had taken the trouble to put the table inside so it wouldn't be stolen, you are at least partially responsible for that. Pay careful attention to me. You owe them $665. Do you understand? That's for the rent. You had no basis to leave sticking them with the rent.
After I was being coerced and harassed.
And you owe them for the telephone. Because if you broke the telephone in a fit of rage, then you're responsible for your own anger. You have to take responsibility for your own actions. All I can tell you is this. It's very difficult for young people to live together. But there have to be certain rules. And those rules should be set down immediately. And I think one of the first things is, in a democratic community, and you were moving into a democratic community, is that you should try to do things that seem fair. This whole problem started with you, madam, because you did something to these young ladies that they didn't feel was fair. There were 5 other girls, one really nice room. You picked the best one. They said, come on, let's try to do this in a fair manner. We'll toss a coin. You didn't want to toss a coin. The next thing they said was, well, maybe we could switch around so that everybody can have an opportunity to have a nice room with a view. You also dismissed that idea. Now, I didn't get into not doing your end of the recycling or putting in your $10 being a good citizen. But that's what happens when you live together. That's what you have to do. You can't always get the best piece of the pie. Sometimes you have to share. That's it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $665.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
See, who leaves used condoms on the floor?
You, Leslie?
You, that was your use. Oh, that was
like,
so disgusting.
Who's using drugs every single day?
Huh, you guys.
How great is sex on ecstasy?
Oh, yeah.
Catalina Island.
You know, I didn't realize how ugly and fat you guys were, especially you, Christina.
We're glad that we won. We're glad that justice was done.
And we hope we never see her again.
And now the next case.
Parties on Rasmussen versus Wacko. Step forward, please.
24-year-old Brenda Rasmussen claims her former best friend, Sarah Rockholz, owes her for a bicycle. Sarah borrowed the bike, then it was stolen.
Miss Rasmussen, how old are you?
24 years old.
This is your father?
Yes.
You're a co-plaintiff, sir. I don't quite understand it. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But according to your complaint, Miss Rasmussen, the defendant and you were really good friends.
Very good friends, yes.
College friends?
Mm-hmm. Roommates.
And there came a time when she needed some transportation. Something happened with a car, and you had an old bike, and you lent it to her. And the bike got...
stolen.
You want her to pay for the bike?
Mm-hmm.
So what'd you get your father involved for?
I was very busy, and I called, and I tried to get it resolved, and it didn't work. Nobody would return my phone calls. So I asked him to help me out.
You asked him to resolve it?
To help me resolve it.
Okay.
Not solely resolve it.
How much do you want for this bicycle?
I want $535.16.
Well, let me hear how you get to that figure.
Bike.
For the bike?
Yes. Kickstand, an additional $5.
Go ahead.
Water bottle and bracket, an additional $7. Bike lock, $24.18.
Mm-hmm.
Court filing fee, $35. And lost wages for myself, $104.
Well, I understand that, but you were asking for $334. That's the cost of a replacement bike. Is that right?
That's the cost of the bicycle. I also had a kickstand on my bike and the water bottle. And then the court
So
filing
the whole thing comes to $350. That's what you... Is that what you paid for the bike?
That's what it cost to replace the bike.
The bicycle was 3 years old.
Right.
How much did you pay for the bicycle?
It was about $250.
What do you mean about $250?
I don't remember exactly because I do not have the receipt.
So it's about $250.
Your Honor, may I make a comment here?
Sure.
When this originally started, all we really want to do is replace the bike so that Brenda would have a bike to use.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've made a list of the phone calls we made. Primarily I made, but Brenda made some also. To Sarah, when I could get a hold of her, to her parents. One of the things we agreed to do one time when I talked to her father was he said, we've got some bikes, we'll bring a bike over. I said, fine, bring it over, we'll let Brenda look at it. All we want to do is get it resolved. Never saw a bike, called them back, same thing happened.
You paid $250 for the bike. Your daughter said she wants her to pay $334 for a bike. Now, the $250 you paid for a bike that was at least 3 years old at the time that you lent it to her. So a bicycle does have a certain amount of depreciation, just like a car has a certain amount of depreciation. So, I mean, I think that it's reasonable. You understand that you have to give her something towards replacing a bicycle.
Right.
Now, what do you think is fair?
Well, I talked to my insurance company about it, and according to the information that Brenda gave my insurance company, they said that there was an actual cash value of the bike for $136.32, and I mailed them a check for that. And the reason why I wasn't able to take care of it right away after that had happened, I did tell Brenda that I had the intention of taking care of it, but I left to study abroad in Europe for the fall semester. So therefore, she said that her father would be contacting my father. And so for the past year, her father and my father have been working this out. But as far as anybody contacting me, that hasn't happened.
The $136 that you mailed to them, and you acknowledged that they mailed to you and you did not cash the check.
June 30th, we didn't have time to return the check.
Okay.
She did send them.
How long after this bike was stolen did you send them a check for $136?
I sent it less than a year after.
That's unacceptable. The bike was stolen. It was in your possession. You are therefore responsible to them for something. I absolutely am not taking into consideration your request for $535. A look on your face suggests to me that you know that that's an unreasonable amount. Even the $34 that you're asking for, which is the amount to replace a brand new bicycle, is unreasonable. Now, did the insurance company say that the bike was valued at $136?
Her insurance company wrote us a letter saying that they determined that. I have no idea how.
How they determined it.
Okay, well, it's very hard to determine because you do not have a bill for your bike.
Right.
Now, you say that you spent about $250 for your bike, and you had it for 3 years, assuming that it depreciated $25 a year, which is not a lot. That's $175. You're not so off when she sent you $136. So the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff.
May I say something?
No.
Please.
Go ahead.
Okay, I feel that she borrowed my bike. I want a bike back. I'm going to get a check for $136. I'm going to
No, you're going to get a check for $175.
$175. But I'm still going to have to pay money out myself to replace the bike.
That's true.
No, I don't think that's fair. No, it should not. She should be replacing the bike.
No, that's not what happens, madam. I understand that that's what you think, but that's not what happens.
No, she borrowed the bike, therefore she should give me a bike back.
Ms. Rasmussen, I'm going to give you one final example, and I just want you to listen, because you look like an intelligent woman.
Thank you.
All right? Let us say that your bike wasn't 3 years old. Let's say that it was the only bike that you had, and it was 12 years old. 12 years old. But it still pedaled. It still got you around where you wanted to go. If you went to sell the bike, maybe you could get $25 for it, maybe $15. If you went to sell it, you lent a bike to your friend. The bike gets stolen. In order for you to buy a new bike, it would cost $334. And what you're suggesting is that that's the right thing to happen. The right thing to happen is for her to pay for you to get a brand new bike, even though you didn't give her a brand new bike. So, and I'm telling you that you have to change your mindset.
Oh, I understand.
Good. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $175. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And on the next Judge Judy,
Cahill, step forward, please.
38-year-old investor Tom Stavros says he was assaulted by Bobby Cahill, the ex-husband of his girlfriend, Beth.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, case number 113 on the calendar in the matter of Stavros versus Cahill. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Stavros, your lawsuit is about an assault.
Yes.
You claim that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
You want $2,500 for that assault.
That's what I was asking for, only because I didn't know what the total of the damages was at the time.
Mr. Cahill, what I understand is Mr. Stavros lives with your former wife.
Yes, he does.
And you have 2 children.
Yes, I do.
And you have joint custody, shared custody with your wife with regard to the 2 children. How long have you been living with his former wife?
Approximately a year.
Some problems arose, according to these papers that I've read, where Mr. Cahill believed that you, sir, were corporally punishing one of his children.
Yes.
Is that how this started?
Yes, ma'am.
So why don't you tell me about it, sir?
In the beginning of May, my son had been telling my mother that Tom had been spanking him.
That's you. Yes. Step up, please.
He...
Just shh. How old's the child?
My Robert is 5.
The boy is 5.
Mm-hmm. 6 now.
Okay, and you had a conversation with him?
Mm-hmm.
And what did he tell you about this?
He said that whenever he gets punished, Tom makes him pull his pants down and then he hits him.
On the rear end? With what?
He didn't tell me with what because he started crying.
Okay. Did you see any marks on the child?
No, I didn't see any marks on the child.
Okay.
Then I told my son.
So what happened, Mr. Cahill?
So I talked to my son about it. He began crying to me. He told me he didn't want to tell me because he was scared. He was embarrassed. And he said that every time he got in trouble, Tom would make him stick his butt up in the air and he would spank him. I wasn't so much in fear of real physical abuse, but it was creating a scar on him. He was scared to go back. He always telling me he didn't like Tom, and he didn't like being punished like that. I don't punish my son like that.
Mr. Stavros, do you discipline the child by having him take his pants down and you swat him on the behind?
No taking the pants down.
So, but you swat him on the behind?
Yes.
With what?
My hand.
Okay. And that's when his mother isn't around?
No, his mom's there.
Okay, does his mom discipline him the same way?
Actually, I'm the disciplinary in the house, just only because I just do it better. I mean, first there's a warning, then it's usually if he's lying, or if it's basically I say you're going to get spanked if you continually lie, cheat, or steal, or if he's endangering himself. That's basically the only reason why he would get spanked.
Mr. Stavros, how old are you, sir?
38.
Have you been married?
No.
Do you have any children?
No.
Biological children?
No.
Before I get into this altercation that took place, sir, I'm going to tell you that I think it's a very bad idea for you to discipline these children.
We've after this incident, we discussed it with a therapist, and he thought it was also.
A bad idea?
Yes.
For you to discipline the children?
Right.
See how smart I am?
Right. But
Do you want to know why, Mr. Stavros? When loving parents discipline their children, if they're doing the right thing as parents, even if they corporally punish them by giving them a swat on the rear end,
right,
which
it is
most people grew up with, who are 40 and over, grew up with being swatted on the rear end by their parents. I know there's a lot of debate about that now, but that's not excessive corporal punishment. But the difference, Mr. Stavros, is when a parent does it, it's usually accompanied by a measure of loving.
Right.
And a child can relate to their biological parent disciplining them that way. You, sir, at this point in this 6-year-old's life, are an intruder.
I agree.
He came into the house when he was 5 years old. He probably misses his father terribly. He probably misses the fact that his parents aren't together. Right. There you are, you show up, and all of a sudden, after a relatively short period of time, you're whacking him on the behind and his mother is not. So it's not a good idea. He got angry. Mr. Cahill, understandable. So what did you do?
So I called and I left a message on the machine that if she didn't call me back about the situation, I was going to be reluctant and not bring the children back this weekend. About an hour and a half later, Beth called me back. She was upset about me saying I wouldn't bring the children back. That's understandable. We got into it on the phone, and Tom took the phone away and started threatening me. And he said he was going to come over and take care of it there. He told me to meet himself someplace first, and I told him no. He said he knew where I lived, so he was going to come over. And he did.
What happened when you got there, sir?
Beth was concerned.
Don't tell me about Beth and her concern.
Well,
you went over there with Beth.
With Beth. Beth
What time did you go over there?
When he called.
What time?
It's 1 o'clock in the morning.
So you and your girlfriend went over at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Now, you understand, it wasn't for his sake. It was for the child's sake, because Beth was, I woke up and I heard Beth pleading on the telephone, please, I love the children, don't keep them away from me and like that. And then I put it on speakerphone. So she's still on the phone. I didn't take the phone away from her. And in the background, I hear Robert crying.
Robert was asleep, Your Honor. So.
I hear Robert crying.
So?
And Beth hears Robert crying. And she's wondering why he's up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and why is he calling our house at 1 o'clock in the morning, and what's going on? I mean, she has a serious concern. So that's why we went over there.
Well, Mr. Stavros, that was your second mistake. Your first mistake was to discipline this 6-year-old boy,
I realized
5-year-old boy. Your second mistake was nothing is accomplished at 1 o'clock in the morning.
When I woke up...
Hindsight is 20/20, sir.
Exactly.
But I'm telling you, it's a mistake to go over there. It was your mistake. You were hot at the moment, so you called. Because whatever discussion that you wanted to have with her could have waited until 9 o'clock the following morning.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right?
Yes, Your Honor, I agree.
So you were hot. You react to that by going over there at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Not smart.
Not smart. And I didn't even think of that until it was over.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Beth comes, Mr. Stavros, with baggage. She comes with 2 children. It would be simpler for you without it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bobby Cahill, the former husband of Beth and the father of their child, denies he assaulted Beth's new boyfriend, Tom Stavros. He says Stavros threatened his son.
So you went over there with Beth. It's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
She's upset. You love her. You're upset.
Right.
Right? Where is she today?
She's at work. She started a new job, and she really didn't want to miss work just starting her new job.
That doesn't sound like a legitimate excuse for her not being here, sir.
Well,
So she's not here, which is difficult, but
right.
I'm getting the gist of this case. So you went over there with Beth. You pull up in front of the house, and what happens?
I see the family on the lawn.
Which family?
Everyone that you see here, with the sister.
Okay.
And Robert and the kids. Robert's there. I pull up. I don't park or anything. I just stop right there in the middle of the street. And Beth gets out of the car and goes to Robert. I get out of the truck. I'm standing by the front of the truck in the street. I see Bobby has some black gloves on, and he has a basketball in his hands. I just go, well, Bobby, I don't want any part of this. I don't want to fight. I don't want anything to do with this. I know he has a tendency to hit people. I'm just going to stay right here by the truck. Bobby's brother shows up and gets behind Robert here. And Robert turns around and looks at his brother, and turns around and looks at me, and then throws a basketball at me and comes running and hits me in the head.
What hits you in the head, the ball or him?
The ball hit me, and then he hit me with his fist in the head.
Who hit you?
Robert. So little Robert comes running into the street with his hands up in the air, just no, 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 like this. I see the little kid there. I see this guy walking towards me, and then
He's already gotten to you, according to your story. He's already gotten to you and hit you.
Yeah, he did. But then, I moved.
Go ahead.
I moved away. And then Beth comes and gets little Robert, takes him into the house. And he comes flying at me again, and I just step to the side. I start walking forward after he's behind me, and I face his brother. And his brother just doesn't, stays on the side, doesn't want anything to do with it. And so I walk right towards the truck and get in the truck and lock the doors. And now I'm sitting in the truck.
You've been hit once with a basketball and punched once in the head. In the head. By him.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Cahill, tell me your version of these events, sir.
Your Honor, the only thing true about it is he drove up and stopped in the middle of the street. He came out. My wife stayed in the car. My son was asleep. I don't normally keep my son up past 9 o'clock on a Friday night.
Just tell me what happened, sir, not what you
normally do. He came out of the truck, and he came at me and charged me. He swung at me once, and I defended myself. That's the worst thing that I did. My mother called the police that evening This incident happened before 1 o'clock. The police came out. They asked me what I wanted to do about it because he had no business coming to my house. I told him I wanted to just send him home. He called me 2 days later threatening to take it out on my son. I taped the conversation.
I'd like to hear that.
There's a lot of expletives on it.
I've heard everything, sir. Can I hear it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you'll be singing a different tune after Robert gets back after this week. And then if it doesn't change this week, it might change the next week. Maybe the week after that.
Why would you want to take it out on a 6-year-old?
I'm not taking him out. Because...
Why would you want to take it out on him?
Because I can. How's that? You don't go around hitting me ever. You don't go around hitting
Tom,
ever. You don't ever hit anybody, ever. Do you understand that? You have no right to swing your fist, and I'm going to make you pay. And if Robert brings you here, that's what's going to do it.
Tom, I was just there to defend myself.
Come over here by yourself. Just come over here. Robert, you, Mr. Cahill, are going to be not happy. Promise. It's a promise from me to you.
Okay, Tom.
Okay, 1 o'clock, La Salsa in La Mesa.
All right, well, I need to talk to Betsy.
No more talking to Beth.
Sit there and listen.
Sorry, buddy.
Tom, don't touch him.
You. You. I can't wait till 1 o'clock. From 1 o'clock on, you're paying.
Okay. Whatever you have to say.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Beth Cahill's new boyfriend, Tom Stavros, says Beth's ex-husband assaulted him in a fight over Beth's son.
Mr. Stavros, do you realize that on that tape, you threatened Mr. Cahill's then 5-year-old child with retribution because you had had a fight with his father?
There was a part to the tape that, okay, I'd been given Robert many privileges just because I want to, because I want the child to have a good childhood, okay? And when I was saying, I don't know why it's missing, but I had said at one point that, you know, why should I be giving him all these privileges?
That's not what you said.
I realize that, Your Honor.
What you said on the tape was a threat, not even a very veiled threat, to hurt Mr. Cahill's child.
No, sir. No, ma'am.
But that's what it said, sir.
Okay.
You understand that that's what the tape says. The tape is your voice, angry, and what you're saying to him, what you said to him was, wait till the kid gets home.
Right.
Wait till the kid gets home. I can't wait till 1 o'clock till the kid gets home.
Well, what I'm implying is that that all these privileges or the way things have been is not going to be the same anymore.
Sir, that may have been what was in your head. That's not what a parent is hearing when he hears this, sir, on the tape.
Also, when he is saying that he is afraid of you, I'm saying he should be afraid. But he should be afraid after everything that's gone on. I would be afraid. Not that he should be afraid of me.
He's 5. I'm going to ask you one other question. I'm going to ask you one other question, Mr. Stavros. Why were you so angry? You were so angry because, according to you, he hit you. Was that right?
Yeah.
You hit his child.
Your Honor.
Not once. More than once.
I had permission to.
Not from him. Just a minute.
Right.
Not from him.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't have permission from him to hit his child. How old are you, sir?
I'm 36 years old.
You're 38. He's 36. You want to fight and batter each other? That's your business, right?
I don't want to.
He's talking about hitting a 5-year-old child. His 5-year-old child.
Hitting and spanking are different things.
Hitting it, sir. To him, hitting his child is no different from him taking a basketball and throwing it at you.
Your Honor, he could have told me about that.
Mr. Stavros, you had no business going over to his house at 1 o'clock in the morning. Absolutely no business going to his house at 1 o'clock in the morning. Because at 1 o'clock in the morning, there was going to be an altercation. What did you think was going to happen there at 1 o'clock in the morning? You think that you and your girlfriend were going to drive up to the house, And she was going to knock at the door and she was going to say, I'd like the children, please. And Mr. Cahill was going to say, fine, I'll go wake them up and give them to you.
No, they were
Well,
awake.
what did you anticipate was going to happen at 1 o'clock in the morning?
I anticipated Bobby, me, Beth, Robert, everybody standing around in a circle just going, okay. That's what I was anticipating.
Well, I don't know what land you live in, sir.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong, Robert?
What's wrong with it?
Am I beating you?
Absolutely nothing, sir. Nothing is wrong with 9 o'clock the next morning.
Why can't we ask Robert?
Your girlfriend calling Mr. Cahill and saying, look, let's try to resolve this. We want to come over and sit and talk.
We could have done it then.
Yes, you could have done it then. And you were told not only by me, but you were also told by a therapist that you have no business putting your hands on this child.
After the fact.
Yeah, but that's what made it mad. So what? So you were told afterwards you were wrong?
Your Honor, it was my house. Beth wasn't doing anything about it. And after the lying and the lying and the lying, and he got spanked the first time, we didn't have any more lying anymore.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I want to tell you something, Mr. Stavros. I don't know whether you're still with Beth. I assume that you are. I assume that you are. And I assume that if Beth is a loving mother, and I assume that you believe she is.
I do believe she is, Your Honor.
And that she loves her children, even your mother. She loves her children? Well, she better, sir, take you to parenting classes.
We've been going.
Big time.
We have been going ever since this happened.
Because you are disciplining this child out of anger.
No,
Oh, yes, because you say she wasn't doing it, you took over. And Beth comes, Mr. Stavros, with baggage. Hey, stop interrupting me. Beth comes with baggage. She comes with 2 children.
Yes,
it would be simpler for you without it. But Beth comes with 2 children. They are 2 children, however, who have a father.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? They have 2 kids. They got a father and they got a mother. Mother doesn't hit him. Father doesn't hit him. You hit him.
Ma'am, he hits him. He spanks him. Guarantee it. She has taken...
No, that's not
I
true.
have,
I don't hit
I have information completely alternate. This is a letter from Beth, but that's not
I'm not going to hear it. If Beth wanted to tell me something, she would be here.
This is an insight to the family history that was written down by Beth and her lawyer before any of this.
Listen to me, sir. If Beth chose not to be here today, it means that she was very wise and didn't want to get into an altercation with her former husband who shares custody with her of the children because it's not in the children's best interest. She probably couldn't stop you from filing your lawsuit, but I, sir, can stop you from getting any money. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
On the next Judge Judy
versus Estras, step forward, please.
Betty Bishop says her Beverly Hills landlady, Christina Esteras, kept her deposit, owes money for the utility bills, and left her cat in the apartment for 4 months.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is number 93 on the calendar in the matter of Bishop versus Estras. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Bishop, you rented a condo from Miss Estras. According to your complaint, the rent was $700 a month. You lived there for a while, left, and she retained some of your security deposit. How much did she retain?
She retained all but...
How much was your full security deposit?
$700.
And how much did she give you back?
She gave me back $454.07.
Now, I have a countersuit by you for $2,000. Quite frankly, Miss Estras, I don't understand what it's for. But I assume you're going to tell me what this $2,000...
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. A minute. You found her apartment how?
It was in fair condition. There was no...
No, how did you find the apartment?
Oh, I'm sorry. I answered an ad in the newspaper. The ad said elegant condo, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, room in the condo, and it said it was located in Beverly Hills, and the rent was $600 a month.
Was she supposed to be living there at the same time?
No, she said one of the conditions was that she was moving to San Francisco. She had an apartment there. She had work there. She would never be at the condo, and that my cat and I could move into the condo.
So you stayed for a while.
Well, I brought in all my, she had no furniture, nothing. So I brought in all of my furniture, my artwork, high-end artwork.
Okay. And then how long did you remain before you vacated?
I vacated March 24th. They gave her notice on February 28th of this year, 1997.
So you vacated 3/24?
Yes.
And had you paid for March's rent?
Yes, I have.
I assume you had. Is that correct, Ms. Estres? Is it correct that she paid March's rent?
Correct that she paid March's rent, which was the last deposit, yes.
Fine. Now, can you tell me why you retained part of her security deposit?
Oh, absolutely, Your Honor. I terminated her lease, which I sent her a letter, because of the fact that she did not pay the electricity bill. And in my rental agreement, it says here that she will be responsible for all the electricity, and I, on the other hand, will be responsible for the water, the gas, and amenities, which comes to a total of $200 a month. Here are all my receipts indicating that I paid the $195 per month to the Home Association.
Does this lease provide that you pay the electric?
Yes.
Well, then
what happened, Your Honor, is this. On February 5th, she had the electric put into my name, and the way I found out about it was without my knowledge, without notice. The electric company notified me that I needed to pay an $85 deposit or they were going to shut off the electricity. I was not aware of it at all during that time.
What you're complaining about really is that she put the electric bill in your name without your permission.
Or knowledge.
Or knowledge. Did you do that?
No, Your Honor. Actually, I notified her on several occasions that my bill was past due, and I called them up, and she says, oh, well, I'm going to make arrangements. She never made arrangements. Then she'd leave me letters saying that
Ms. Estres, could you close that?
Oh, sorry. She'd leave me...
I asked you a question.
Yes.
My question was a simple one. It requires a yes or a no answer. I'm going to say it again because maybe you didn't understand me the first time. Did you cause the bill to be put in her name?
Absolutely.
Well, first, you just told me no a second ago.
I definitely did after my
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
All right. So you called the company and said put the bill in
definitely
in her name. You can't do that.
Well, I did it because...
Well, but you can't do it. You told me why you did it. You did it because she said that the bills were delinquent.
Because she didn't pay my bills. Why should I have bad credit? She gave me bad credit.
Yeah, but you can't call somebody and say, I want you to put a bill in somebody else's name.
Well, I told her previously that I was doing it, and so there's that.
Let me ask you this question, Miss Estres.
What?
Did you tell them who you were when you called the phone company?
Of course, and I told Betty that I was putting it in her name. And you're an outright liar. Please be quiet while I'm speaking.
Miss Estres, I don't believe you, madam, that any utility company will open an account in somebody else's name unless that person calls them.
Well, she gave me all the information to open it. I told her that I was putting it in her name. I had her information.
Well, I know you had her information. You mean her social security number and that sort of thing. You must have had that in order for you to open the account, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you had her permission to do it. We understand each other?
Yes, we do.
All right. They don't keep me around here because I'm gorgeous. They keep me around here because I'm smart. Now, you're suing her for $2,000. I'd like you to tell me why.
Okay. I'm going to start off with the damage.
All right.
The carpet cleaning. Here's all the...
I don't want to see that.
Oh.
I have tell me what the damage.
Okay, the damage is where she has wine stains on the carpet. We tried to get them out. There was holes in the carpet, and she had the whole place with paintings everywhere. So there's holes all over the walls. We had to go in and replaster the walls and repaint everything.
So what'd you give her back $454 for?
Because at that point, that's all I had accounted for. I'm not living at that apartment, so all I could account her for was the screens and the cat that wrecked my blinds and the electrical bill. That was the paperwork I had in front of me. She told me how many days I had left to get this back or I was in trouble. I have her letter right here.
You know, you may talk fast, but in order to convince me, you have to talk logically.
Okay.
Because otherwise, I think you're full of baloney. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. I'm going to explain why to you. If you knew about the screens that you say she damaged, if you knew about the blinds, which you say she damaged, right, then you would have had to have gone into the apartment and seen holes in the wall that you said she made, wine stains on the carpet that you said she was responsible for. You had to have done that.
Correct, Your Honor, but can I explain something to you? I had to leave for Puerto Rico the next day. So all I could take care of is what I had to take care of at that time.
All right, now let's go to this. You say, assuming that she damaged the screen, assuming that she had wine stains on the carpet, how much was that all together to have fixed?
That was $2,000 in addition to...
Just a minute! That's out of the question. Show me bills for $2,000 for that.
Okay, sure. And my mother has all the...
I'm not interested in your mother. Show me the bills for $2,000 to fix the screen and to clean the carpet.
Okay, here you go.
Men and materials. What is this piece of paper here?
Do you want to explain, Mother?
I want you to explain.
Because my mother had to supervise it. I was not in town.
Supervise?
That amazing.
What?
She had to supervise the fixing of the holes in the plaster in the walls, and that's how much they charge. And she paid for it. And you want to talk to her about it? Lucy, why don't you stand up, please?
Gonna put a robe on her or what?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today...
It seemed like whenever the payments come due, we're broke up and everything, but she comes around lollygag and swap and slobbers with me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Betty Bishop is suing her Beverly Hills landlady, Christina Esteras, for her deposit, utility bills, and care of her cat for 4 months.
Problem is, when you try to fool somebody, you always get caught, especially in a court.
Well, I'm not
you
trying
didn't,
to fool anybody.
Oh, sure you are. You didn't replace a carpet. You got an estimate.
No, I got an estimate. Correct.
You got an estimate. You didn't pay us a penny.
That's true. Did I say I paid
in the
a penny?
living room
I
and
said
the
an
bedroom.
Estimate. That's what she owes me.
Give me a break. Listen, bottom line is, you gave her back a certain amount of money. And I don't believe your excuses that you were going to Puerto Rico and you had to leave the next day and all that other kind of stuff. I think what happened is you filed a countersuit against her when she sued you, right? Is that right?
Of course that's right.
As far as I'm concerned, there are certain things here that maybe,
Your Honor, I was told
she's responsible for, maybe. But when you try to pad it...
There's no padding.
Oh, of course there is. Of course there is. Now, you are responsible, madam, for the electric bill, because that's what it says. That's $85. Now, I don't know what the other...
Your Honor, could I...
$246 is. What's the other $246?
Here we go. This is the check that my mother had to pay. That's $58.50. And here's the repair on the 3-day blinds. And here's what that we bought the blinds right after Betty had moved in. Brand new blinds. They were $200, and her cat destroyed them. He's my witness. He saw that her destroy them.
Just a second. Did you say... You said, telling me, madam, that this witness saw her cat destroy the blinds. Is that what you're telling me? Step up, sir. Up. How you like? Say not a word. Tell me your name.
My name Warren.
Warren?
Yes.
What's your last name?
Satinu.
Sir, I want you to tell me whether, now look at me very carefully.
Yes.
I want you to tell me whether you saw her cat destroy blinds.
I saw her cat play with the blind.
You saw her cat play with them. Did you see any damage to the blinds when the cat was playing with them?
When they by the window.
Either you're not following me or you got her disease, sir.
No.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see the cat play with the blinds and cause damage to the blinds?
Yes, I do.
Tell me about it.
The cat basically like to stay by the window.
Yes.
And then basically they scratch the screen, and when the blind, sometime when the blind down, the cat just go to where the rope and the blind, where the mini blind.
Yeah. So you actually saw the cat destroy the blind, or you just saw the cat playing with the blinds?
Actually, you see the cat destroy the blind.
I don't believe you.
It's basically play where the rope is.
I believe that you saw the cat play where the rope was.
Yeah.
That's not my question to you, sir. My question is, did you see the cat damage the blind? Not play with the blind, but damage it.
No, sir.
Right. Now sit down.
Your Honor. Your Honor.
Just a second.
Your Honor, may I add something that I think is a very important piece of information right now that hasn't been brought up to this point? And that is that Mrs. Steros, when she left the next day after I moved in, said she would return in a week or two to get her cat, which was much larger and heavier than mine. She did not pick her cat up for 4.5 months later, which meant that I had to care for her cat.
What'd you leave your cat in her apartment
Well,
for?
I didn't leave my cat in her apartment.
Didn't you? Just a minute.
No, my mother came and got the cat.
Oh, just a second. When did your mother come and get the cat?
It was in January that she came and got the cat.
And when did you rent?
The cat did damage my, those screens were brand new. And that cat damaged those screens and the
How long did you leave your cat in the apartment with her?
I left the cat in the apartment with her for 3 months, and she agreed to take care of the cat.
All right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
We get to swapping slobbers and sticking her tongue in my ear and stuff, and I forget everything.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Betty Bishop is suing her Beverly Hills landlady, Christina Esteras, for her deposit, utility bills, and care of her cat for 4 months.
You are suing her for $246.
Correct.
I am charging you for the electrical bill of $85. But she owes you $161, the rest of your security deposit that she withheld.
Plus.
You, madam.
Plus.
Plus nothing.
I had damage.
Plus nothing.
Okay.
$161. You, madam, are countersuing her for $2,000. You are entitled to zero, nothing. The countersuit is dismissed. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $161.
Parties are excused. You may step
Well,
out.
then what about my blinds? Are you saying that she didn't do that either?
Apa